And we really are continually appreciative of the support that you give our lodge. I know you have a very busy schedule, and time is a precious commodity, and we really appreciate the times, many times in this last year that you've come to our events. That says a lot. This has been a pretty packed day, and I think a pretty enjoyable evening as well. David, thank you so much for speaking for us tonight, and we greatly appreciate both your history with the lodge and your continuing support and encouragement as well. Congratulations again to each of our honorees, to Vince and Harry, to Patrick, to Luke and Jacob. You're each very deserving, and we're honored to have you in our presence tonight. Let's give them another round of applause. I'd also like to thank all of you who worked to make this particular day possible, from the venue to the meals to the workshops, classes, this evening's program. That took a lot of work. You probably have no idea how much it takes to put an event on like this. Let's thank all those who put that together. So, this is my minute. And those of you who know me realize that I really view the term minute when it comes to speaking as maybe only a vague suggestion. And I'll try to limit myself to about half an hour. And Chief, if you could, make sure you lock the door so nobody can leave.
Filibuster.
Yeah. David, can you keep track of the time with your new clock there as well?
Sure.
Okay. So I want to leave you this evening with a few thoughts about leadership, and that's probably a big surprise to you. That's something that I talk about a lot. And those of you who've hung around me for any time at all will probably remember the many occasions when I've spoken about servant leadership. And I talk about that so much because I believe that of all the emphases and all the philosophies and techniques surrounding the idea of leadership, that servant leadership is the only one that really yields a lasting and really eternally significant result. And last year, if you're at this same banquet, you might have remembered that I gave you the illustration of George Washington dismounting from his horse to serve. And I challenged you at that time to have the willingness to forget the privilege of position in order to do what was necessary to help other people. And this year, I want to encourage you to continue on that path, continue those steps, and maybe I'm going to help you a little bit more with a big question, and that is why. Why should you want to do this? And I think it comes back to this term, servant leadership, and I think that term itself should give you a really good idea about the relative importance of the parts. Servant is the first word in that term, and its placement before the word leader is very telling. It's a very important order. This term servant leader is widely attributed to a man named Robert Greenleaf from his writings in about 1970. And certainly the idea, the concept didn't begin with Greenleaf. It's really ancient in its origins, and we see it in a lot of places. We see it in the Bible. We also see it in scouting, and in particular in our own order. And we've heard several times tonight the idea from the legend about servant leadership, and I'll talk about that just a little bit in a minute. But Greenleaf may have been the first person to really put those two words together with a hyphen as a specific term. And Greenleaf says this about the desire that this type of leader should have. He says that the servant leader is a servant first. It begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve first. And then a conscious choice brings one to aspire to lead. And that person is sharply different from one who is a leader first, perhaps because of the need to satisfy an unusual power drive or to acquire material possessions. The leader first and the servant first are two extreme types, and between them there are all the shadings and blends that are part of the infinite variety of human nature. He goes on to say that the difference shows itself in the care taken by the servant first to make sure that other people's highest priority needs are being served. The best test, although he says it's the most difficult to administer, is do those served grow as persons? Do they, while being served, become healthier, wiser, freer, more autonomous, more likely themselves to become servants? And what is the effect on the least privileged in society? Will they benefit or at least not be further deprived? Now, Greenleaf, he was one of those brilliant guys who had thoughts that were really so lofty that sometimes it makes my brain hurt when I sit down to consider them. And if you read on, you'd see what I mean. But at the same time, there's really a very brilliant simplicity in his thoughts. Serve first, and then desire to lead. Make sure that other people's highest priority needs are being served before my own. How do we know this works? Well, they become more healthy, they're more wise, they're more free, they're more able to stand on their own feet. And here's the big one. They become servants themselves. So what was Greenleaf's point, and what does that have to do, and what does it matter to you as airmen? Well, as scouts and scouters and airmen, we talk a lot using special language, and we've memorized it to the point that we really don't give it a second thought. It comes easily off of our tongues. Things like help other people at all times, or do a good turn daily, or he who serves his fellows is what? Of all his fellows greatest. So you know all that. Nice words, aren't they? And those are the same words that I first memorized over 40 years ago, and I can still repeat them without error. And I'll bet you're the same way. I just heard it from you. But as a couple of our speakers, and David in particular talked about today, words without action are dead. If we really believe these things, these tests that Greenleaf was talking about should be very much in the forefront of our minds. Are all of those things happening? And if not, why not? And for our lodge, a lot of things went well last year. There's no doubt about it. But by nearly every measure that's used by the order, the Arakousa Lodge was successful. And we had great events. We reached out with programs and activities that were nationally recognized. We won just about everything that we could win at the section conclave. Great stuff, and I really applaud you for that. Here's the but. Many of you should be familiar with the way that the OA measures how successful a lodge is, and that's currently through a program called the Journey to Excellence, or the JTE, and there are 3 levels of achievement. There's the bronze, silver, and gold, and in almost every category in 2013 Journey to Excellence, we achieved goals that would have given us gold status. And unfortunately, there was one category in which we struggled, and many of you know this. And unfortunately, that one category really kept us from being able to technically claim any level in JTE. And that category was brotherhood conversion, or the rate at which ordeal members sealed their membership by becoming brotherhood members in our lodge. And we struggled with that last year, despite all the other super accomplishments that you made. And, we're working on plans to ensure a much better result for 2014, and you're going to hear more about that throughout the year. So that's a concern, but I don't want your heart to be troubled about that, I think is one way of putting it. And I want you to commit to helping us with that goal in the next year, because really, if you think about it, our strength and our ability to serve depends on our ability not just to maintain, but really to grow our membership, including brotherhood conversion. And your role in that is critical. And I'm asking each of you here to commit to making personal contact with ordeal members as well as other members, to bring them back to us, to get them involved. I was in another meeting with another organization this morning, and somebody described that as friend raising. Kind of like fundraising, but it's friend raising. And that's really where what we're trying to do gains most of its power, by you going out personally to your friends and getting them involved in the service that is so important to us. We want them with us, and we want to make sure that we have those numbers, but if you think about it, that's really a minor issue. More than that, we need their fellowship, and we need the strength that they give us to continue to serve. Now, the next thing I want to ask you to do is to shift your focus outward. We should serve each other, but it's more important that we serve our local units, our districts, our churches, our neighborhoods, our communities, our country, and our world. And that requires really a personal commitment and a commitment to bring others along with you. If you go back and listen to what Greenleaf was saying, his tests, one of those tests was whether our service to others made them more likely to become servants themselves. And that's a great test. So don't worry as much about the numbers associated with something like JTE, but be more concerned about whether, as a servant leader, you're encouraging and enabling others to make a personal commitment to serve. If you do that, the numbers are going to be a natural side effect. They'll come. So come with me on this journey, not to be served, but to serve and to help others become servants themselves. There can be great joy and great fulfillment in doing that. I want to close with a quote, and this inspired me. I'd not heard it before until this week. It came from Nobel Peace Prize winner Albert Schweitzer, and he said this: "I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I do know. The only ones among you who will be really happy are those who have sought and found how to serve." Thank you very much.